Hello and welcome to another episode of the Coaches Club podcast, brought to you by halftimecuppa.com. My name is Danny Cook and I am pleased to bring you another outstanding but slightly shorter episode today, featuring our special guest, Harry Sherman. Today's topic is going to be all about social distance sessions, which is very relevant right now as we are almost at the end of social distance sessions as the FA have announced a return to some kind of contact training. So before we begin, you can of course catch up on any of our previous episodes on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube or our website now at halftimecuppa.com, but please do not go anywhere. We have got a great small episode for you to enjoy. So without further ado, let's dive straight in. Thank you, Harry. Thanks for your time. Let's have a chat about our social distance sessions. But before we do you mind just giving anyone who hasn't had the chance to listen to your coaching journey just a bit of a backstory in terms of your roles at the moment?
So my roles at the moment, I'm Vice Chairman at Kindred Football Club. I manage the men's side as well. I also coach the under-8 girls in that club, and then I'm also one of the lead coaches for the under-16 boys at Welling United.
Brilliant. So how have you kept yourself busy during this sort of lockdown period in terms of coaching?
Lots of things. I mean, I think what this time's been helpful for really is sort of personal development. There's been loads of like webinars, and we've had sort of guest speaker sessions with some top coaches. We had a James Beattie on, who's obviously the ex-Southampton striker, who's now coaching at Birmingham. We've had academy coaches from sort of Southampton, from Liverpool, from Leicester, from Newcastle on webinars, and sort of loads of sort of interesting chats we've had with sort of top level coaches, which have been really good. And there's just sort of been like loads of free courses that have been flying around as well online that sort of we've been able to do just sort of develop ourselves. Sort of in addition to that, I guess it's sort of a lot of planning and thinking into sort of next season and sort of what happened last season. What went well, what didn't go well, what we can improve on, and trying to sort of get the motions in play to start next season strongly, and just think about what kind of program we want to run and what kind of things we want to do, both as a club and sort of with our teams, sort of going forward really. So it's kind of been like quite a lot of thinking time and contemplation, and just processing emotions and processing thoughts and trying to put those thoughts into action really. So yeah, it's been busy, but it's sort of not hands-on coaching, more sort of behind the scenes kind of thing.
And you mentioned about the planning, and obviously the main topic of the podcast is about those social distance sessions.
Yeah.
And I mean, we both know we've both had to run these sessions. So I was just wondering if you can share sort of your experience with them. Let's sort of start with the challenges that you have had to face as a coach when it's come to planning and then executing these sessions.
I think the challenge has been keeping within the restrictions. Obviously with the FA update, we could only have 5 players per coach. Everyone's got to be socially distanced, so sort of 2 meters apart, not sharing bibs, not sharing cones, it's just a lot of sort of things you have to abide by. I think it's in a good way. It's kind of made us more creative in terms of what we've had to do and what we've sort of the sessions we've put on, because it's not as simple as just getting into a match or just doing a rondo or just sort of having 1v1s, 2v2s. It's you've got to sort of engage the players and keep them interested and keep them focused, and sort of really sort of work on different things that you normally do in sort of normal sessions. I think with everything that's happened, and obviously the pandemic and whatnot, there's been a lot of technical focus So sort of players with a ball each, or you're looking at very, very small, very basic passing patterns, or a lot of also maybe football fitness. It's sort of more individual development than team development that we've had to sort of deal with. I think for the men's team, it's been more challenging than for the girls. For the men's team, obviously all they want to do is play matches. All they want to do is kick balls into a net, and that's their idea of fun. But with the girls, it's you can do technical, very, very focused technical sessions and have a lot of repetition in there, and sort of you make it fun for them by the way you're engaging with them. So it's not just simple. It's with the men's team, it's how it is. It's more difficult to sort of keep them engaged and keep the focus there if there's not sort of that prize at the end of a match at the end, or sort of any sort of competition involved. But with the girls, if you've got that sort of bubbly personality and sort of they're having a laugh and they're enjoying it, and you got these kind of like races and challenges and little games that sort of they enjoy, it's been a lot easier with the girls than with the men's team.
In terms of the actual planning bit as well, as you know, we've spoke about it before, but just wondered if you shared that view that it's actually been quite hard to find some of these sessions that are relevant in terms of social distancing.
Yeah, I think what we had, you have like a core batch of sessions that you have in mind, and that you can do, and that's sort of quite easy to come up with and stuff. But I think the trouble with me and you is that we like to keep things fresh, and we like to try and put on different sessions for the players, so it's not all repetitive and it's not all sort of we're doing this again. So I think that the challenge for me and you has been, because we've been training for sort of best part of 2 months now, since the FA said we could come back in small groups. We've been doing it. So that's sort of twice a week. You're looking at 16 different sessions for sort of 45 minutes to an hour long, and putting on something different every session is sort of, we kind of got to sort of last week and we were sort of low on the tank in terms of sessions and sort of what we could do, and sort of trying to not do things we've done before, but trying to mix it up in a way we were able to engage the players and give them something new and fresh. So that's been difficult, because obviously with the restrictions and everything in place, there's only a sort of a limit as to what you can do. And obviously with us having our facilities closed as well, we were stuck to a park with no goals, no nets, no nothing. So that limits us further. So we can't just do like a shooting session. We had to do like passing sessions and technical sessions, like a football fitness session. So it's we've kind of been extremely restricted in terms of what we could do and what we were able to do, and the space we had, and that just sort of added to the work we had to do in terms of the creative side and make things sort of fresh and interesting for all the players.
In terms of the intensity, now obviously the intensity can be hard to replicate, given that those sessions were in effect unopposed. There was no physical contact. How did you try to maintain the intensity and the workload of players?
It depends on the group you have. Like, so we had there were some players that just naturally brought intensity to the team. Like you have sort of a few players that you tell them to dribble a ball to a cone, and they'll do that as best as they can and as fast as they can and with the highest intensity they can. The challenge was more the players that don't do that. The players that are a bit more lethargic, or a bit more laid back, or a bit more sort of need a push to get going. That's been a challenge. I think the way sort of that to work around it is just sort of creating little competitions and little sort of races and matches, and trying to sort of make things a little bit competitive where possible, which hasn't always been easy. but there's this thing is, it's having the intensity in sessions and stuff. There's only so much you can do as a coach. There's only so much you can push it and encourage it and reinforce it with your players. It's the players that really need to have that mindset of, I'm going to give everything I've got for 100% of the session. And that's sort of where you see the differences in players as well. Like with what I've seen is that the better players do have that intensity even with the smallest things. The players that sort of maybe have ability but haven't sort of reached the level they could reach don't have that. So it's more the players than sort of anything we can do really. I guess we've benefited from having sort of players with a good mindset.
Let's briefly talk about the benefits of these small-sided sessions, and the benefits to you as a coach, and the benefits to the groups that you worked with. Were there many that you picked up from these sessions?
Yeah, I think with obviously we've had trialists come in for next season. So it's been, I guess for us it's been it's good when they've come down to sort of have a good look at them. It's been more of an in-depth look than if it was part of a wider training session. And obviously with the sort of focus on doing a lot of technical stuff, we're a technical team, so we've kind of been able to see who we can see would fit in with the squad on sort of early doors, and sort of who probably would struggle a bit. So obviously on top of that you got the character of the player and sort of what they're like on the physical and intelligent aspects they bring. But it's been beneficial to us because the players that have come down that have been technically good, we've already built that sort of relationship with them, and they sort of know us, we know them. And when we go into trials, sort of in just over a week's time, we're able to have a good idea as to what they're going to be about, and it's just sort of seeing them in a game situation. In terms of the players, I mean the benefit has been obviously going back to training, and going back to some form of activity and some form of exercise. I think we've had a few players that have not done much in the lockdown and not maybe been able to do much. So having sort of that return to activity and return to training has sort of brought about their fitness levels to increase, and yeah, just sort of slowly building it themselves into it. So when we get back to sort of normal pre-season training, we've got sort of a foundation that's ready to then kick on and push for next season.
Just briefly, if any coaches listening in who's still doing these social distance sessions, have you got any tips for them in terms of how they can make these sessions successful, or how they can get the most out of these sessions?
I think with everything with coaching, it's about you as a coach. I think if you're just going to stand there and bark orders, you're not gonna do well. I think you've got to really have that enthusiasm and that passion and that energy, and that will feed into the players. If you don't have the energy and you don't have the emphasis and the enthusiasm, the things you're going to try and do will fall flat, because the players will be like, well, it's not really the mindset sort of it reverberates around the players. So I think with me, you could do anything, you could do whatever you want, but if the most important thing is having that energy and having that enthusiasm and really trying to pass that on to the players and get them pumped and up for it as well. Yeah, I think that's the main thing I'd say.
And final question, in terms of this experience with these social distance sessions, have you learned anything about yourself as a coach? And then secondly, off the back of that, have you learned anything more about the players that you work with?
I think throughout this period, I've definitely developed my side as a technical coach in terms of teaching the technical aspects and really sort of honing in on the very specific details of the technical bits. Like we're looking at, like we're one with the under-8 girls. I mean, we're looking at skills and some things that I'll probably be like, that's good enough earlier. I've actually really pushed it with the girls to say, no, do it like this, and we've got in sort of the space of sort of 4 or 5 weeks, the girls have really, really developed in their skills, and what they've done is they've gone away and practiced it the way I've told them to practice it, including the little minor details, and they're getting the minor details right now, and that means their development in the long term is much, much better. I think that's definitely improved. I think the way I plan and the way I structure the sessions and sort of the way I set them up is I won't say it's improved massively, but it's kind of just something I've been working on with the sort of socially distant sessions as well. But definitely the technical side, I think, is the biggest thing for me.
Brilliant. And your players? Have you learned anything more about them? I think you mentioned earlier, obviously, you're seeing a bit more technical side of things, and it helps with trials potentially.
Yeah, I think with them, I think it's been interesting to see how they've come back. Really, there's been some players that have come back that they've bulked up, and they've sort of, you can tell they've spent this time working out and sort of kind of hitting, I wouldn't say hitting the gym, but hitting the weights and sort of really sort of building their physique up. There's been some players that have been doing runs and sort of been building the cardio side of things, and there's been some players that just haven't really done anything. And I think that for me, it speaks a lot in terms of the player, and it's just not really as the person, but as the player and how committed they are as players. Obviously, I know things get in the way, and we've got other things going on. There's been a lot going on, but for the younger ones, especially those that sort of speak about wanting to play at high levels, some have been doing this work at home, and there's been some that haven't been doing. And the players that speak about being high level players that haven't really been doing much, it's like, well, what are you doing? It's you've got players that have been spending this time running every day and sort of building their physique every day and doing their only little technical things every day to keep it on top of things, and those players will be much, much better set up for the new season than players that have just been sort of sat watching Netflix and playing PlayStation day in, day out. I mean, that's one thing that I've learned a lot about some of these players. And sort of, I guess the relationships between some of them as well. Like obviously with the small groups, you've got sort of different players coming in for the groups, and obviously we've kind of sort of set different groups as well, and mix things up a little bit. And sort of there's been players that have come back from lockdown into these training sessions that have been sort of part of groups that I wouldn't think they'd be part of socially, and that's been interesting. And it's been quite nice to see how easily they fitted in as well, when they probably wouldn't have been part of that group if training carried on as normal, because they would have been part of another group just by sort of habit and just because everyone was there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sort of forced new groups to merge and sort of new socially relationships to be built and stuff. So that's been quite nice as well.
Good. Minor one from me would be just the sort of the cleansing of equipment, and appreciating how long that takes, that process, and how much care has to go into making sure that everyone is safe. Yeah. I think that's going to be. I think obviously you got when training comes back, there's guidelines in terms of sanitizer and sort of. Obviously, no changing rooms will be allowed at first, and so when games return, there's going to be a lot of changes, which will be interesting to deal with, and that's going to be a whole new set of challenges to manage, to deal with.
Which
yeah,
will be fun.
Yeah, that'll be another podcast, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Harry. Just before I leave you, let us know your social media so that anyone can follow you.
Yeah, on everything, my username is Hazza7272. That's HAZZA 7272.
Okay, brilliant. And the club?
Kinja FC or Welling United FC.
Take your pick.
Kinja.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you very much, Harry.
Cheers.
You can also follow Halftime Cuppa on Twitter using our handle @halftime, all one word, then _Cuppa. And my personal account is @DannyCook1996, which is all one word as well. As mentioned at the very start of the show, all of the previous episodes are available now to catch up on our website halftimecuppa.com, as well as iTunes, Spotify and YouTube. Simply by searching for Halftime Cuppa, we will be one of the top results on your screen. Thanks again to Harry Sherman, who shared his views on social distance sessions. I hope you enjoyed that one. Next week, we are back to my coaching journey. We have Andre Diaz-Riaz, who is going to share his journey in terms of coaching. He also comes from a basketball background, so this should be a really interesting one to get a different sports perspective. So until next time, stay safe and goodbye.